3's as good as it's getting.
You can only go 3 high?
Yeah. It's actually really difficult.
I believe it is for you, Maddie. I believe that is difficult.
You try to do it. You're not in here enough.
I am not?
No.
How about like this? How about if I do this? How about if I do this?
Please don't man-spread.
Man-spread. Okay. No, I like this. Yeah.
Are you comfortable?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. What made that sound? So no matter what, you're going to make that sound, even if it's not your...
Oh.
That's going to help the
Are we recording?
That's going to up the resale value of my fake leather pleather.
That the cat destroyed?
Cat damaged. Welcome to Craig's Crossing. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If you're coming back to the show, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming back. If you're new to the show, thanks for showing up for the first time. This is my daughter, Madeline. She's the co-host. Season 2, this is our 3rd episode. And gosh, oh golly, a lot. There's just so much to report, most of which you know about. But we're going to tell them about it.
Do tell.
And then we're going to get to, the things that you want to talk about, whatever. Anyway, so I've been really busy cranking out backstage.com auditions. And I have been over the last few weeks, but I've really been hitting it hard. And, I've got like 4 backstage auditions out this week. I got 5 Casting Network, the new one I joined. I got 5 auditions out with Casting Network, and the other one. So voices.com. Now, about a year ago, when I started joining all of these, I got introduced to voices.com, and I didn't join them because it's kind of expensive. It's like $500 for a yearly subscription or membership, whatever they call it, and Backstage was $200. And Backstage was... So I went with Backstage. And so for the past year... And so I did sign up with voices.com as a guest, but I didn't join their premium membership for $500 a year. And I didn't really go back to that website that much. I was more into ACX at the time and Backstage, and I was messing around with Voquent there for a while. Anyway, so I went back onto the Voices about 2 weeks ago, logged back in, and I don't have access to a lot of the auditions, a lot of the things that I could audition for because you have to join, but you can, just by having your profile on there, you can have people privately invite you for auditions, which happened to me this week. And I put an audition out. And it was for, an audio, just an audio solutions type of commercial, kind of a radio voice kind of a thing. But I got to bid the job. So they tell you what the budget is. And on this one, it was going to be 4 minutes of finished narration, finished work for $600 was the final budget. Voices takes 20%. So you can kind of do the calculations and it does it for you. So I put a bid of $475, which is the amount that would go to me. And then the 20% that Voices gets takes the total bid that I presented to $593.75 or something like that. So I kept it under the budget of $600. And I submitted an audition, and my hope is, and I had full access to that audition because I was privately invited. I was directly invited by someone just from my profile. And my hope is if I get that gig or a gig similar to that, then I'll just use the money from that gig to pay for Voices for the year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Then it kind of offsets the cost, which I think it's a bit spendy, frankly, but I really like the way the audition went out, the way they package it. I just thought it was very well done. It's got my picture and my name and a little bit of a bio, and then right off at the top, it's got the play button, and there's my audition, and then it's got a bunch of stuff that I write about myself and how I'd be interested in working with them, and if I'm not right for this, maybe I'd be right for something in the future. You can click stuff that keeps me active in their
wow.
in their stuff. That was a very loud motorcycle.
That was a car.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so super busy doing this stuff this week. I just have cranked out more auditions, and I'm really streamlining my ability to find an audition, print out the material if it really suits me, rehearse it a few times, go into the booth, record it, come wash it through Audacity, and then put it up for audition. And sometimes I put some underlying music, soundtrack or stuff to it from my royalty-free collection, or sometimes I don't. It's just straight narration. But I've really streamlined that because I got told early on by one of my YouTube mentors in voice acting, you got to play the numbers. And what he meant by that was you just got to put out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions. You can't just put out 5 in a year and think you're going to get work. You got to put out 500. So that's been my goal. Okay, so I can't remember if I mentioned earlier on about a photographer, a gentleman by the name of Rory Lewis. Now, if you don't know who Rory Lewis is, and I'm going to link his website below, and I invite you to go to that. Matter of fact, pause right now and go check him out, and then come back to the show, because the rest of this talk will make a lot more sense if you do that. But Rory Lewis, he's a portrait and headshot photographer to the stars. I think that is putting it mildly. He's world renowned, famous. He's taken pictures of incredibly famous movie stars, people in theater.
What'd you say his name was?
Rory, Rory Lewis. His website is rorylewis.studio. Anyway, so I got this invitation to collaborate through Backstage from Rory Lewis's studio, from Rory Lewis. It was an email from him, although I didn't realize that at the time. I thought it was maybe I was being spammed, which I'll get into in a minute. But it was him asking me to collaborate. He was going to do a test shoot. And from the photos that he saw on my profile from my first photo shoot almost a year ago that I have on my profile page, he saw some photos of that and was interested in me collaborating with him in a photo shoot in LA. And when he first approached me, this was probably, I don't know, weeks ago. And I responded, I found out who he was. I Googled him and I found out who he was. And of course my response was absolutely yes. I would be more than interested in coming and letting you take my picture. Because frankly, this acting journey that I'm on, if the highlight of this whole journey is Rory Lewis taking my photograph, if that's the peak of I'm okay with that. I just really would want to take advantage of that and make the trip. So weeks go by, and it's the first kind of reach out I've ever had like that through Backstage, where it seemed like someone was directly emailing me. So after a few weeks, I wrote an email back that said, hey, maybe this is, and I did this through Backstage in a reply to Rory Lewis. I said, hey, maybe this is a question for Backstage, but is this a legitimate reach out for a collaboration, or is this spam?
Why would he tell you if he was spamming you or not? If it was someone spamming you?
Guess what? He wrote me back. I should have printed these off so I can read them. But he goes, "Oh, it's indeed me." You know, and he's British, and that almost comes through in the way that he writes.
How do you know he's British? How do you know all this stuff?
Well, did you just go to his website?
Well, I went to his Instagram.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you were to take a second and do a little bit of research, you'd learn he's British.
Okay.
And he's got studios in London, and he's got a studio in LA. And anyway, where was I?
So he goes, "It's indeed me."
Yeah, and he goes, "I'm trying to pull together a test shoot. Would you be available like sometime next month?" I think he said, which would have been December. It's November now. Like next week is Thanksgiving, so it's and I went, sure, whenever. You know, I'm available. I'd love to collaborate. And that was my response. But I was just jazzed that when I kind of poked a little bit of, am I being spammed? And he goes, oh, no, it's me. So it worked out. I mean, I took a real chance there. But I also mentioned at the end of that email, I'm really new to this. So I apologize if I'm, asking stupid questions, but am I being spammed, or are you really? And what I meant by am I being spammed is this just his studio trying to reach out for people to come by sessions from him? And then I got to thinking, well, you really shouldn't be doing that through Backstage. So I just wanted to somehow find out if that's what was going on or not.
I approach everything in this industry with skepticism. I'm like,
well, and I didn't know who he was at first, and so of course but anyway, it prompted a response, and then at that point I knew it was legitimate because he and I are emailing each other back and forth, and so it comes to pass that so after I get this email that he wants to do something next month, 2 days ago, I get an email that says, "Hey, can you be in LA Tuesday of next week?" This is the week before Thanksgiving. So Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. Can you be here at 1:00 at my studio in LA for a shoot? And then, of course, everything at my end starts scrambling around. Should I drive? Should I get airline tickets?
Including everyone around him.
So, well, it involves everyone around me, and I'm not allowed to do anything on my own. So I have to reach out and go, hey, let's look into airline tickets versus driving, versus, and how long am I going to be there, and traveling during Thanksgiving weekend. But whatever it took, I was going to be there at 1:00 Tuesday. And I wrote him back and I said, yeah. And then he started telling me about, he's going to have hair and makeup people there. He's going to have a wardrobe for me. He asked for me to send him some more recent photos of me along with all of my clothing sizes, which I did. And this was just moving forward. And so I started, your mother and I got online and started looking up airline tickets and flying directly into LAX. We were seeing prices upwards of $900 for a round trip ticket. And we were seriously considering doing it because that's how much I want him to take my picture. It just seems like it's something I should do. But boy, was that problematically expensive. Well, then you come along and you say, well, why don't you fly into Santa Ana.
John Wayne Airport is like so much less expensive, and it's like a 30-minute Uber ride from downtown LA.
It did prove to be a fraction of the cost, and so we started looking at that, and we got to the point where you felt like maybe you wanted to join me on this trip, ostensibly because I can't handle getting to the airport myself. I can't feed myself. I can't check myself into a hotel. I can't accomplish calling an Uber. I probably couldn't even get in and out of an Uber.
Okay, first problem, you don't call an Uber. So that's your first mistake.
Call up an Uber.
No.
What's the term?
You just order an Uber.
You'd order an Uber. Okay. Well, so so because I used the wrong terminology there, you think proves the point that I can't go
you have no idea what you're doing.
That I can't go from point A to point B without your help. You weren't going because you were excited to support me and see what this was all going to be like.
That was about 20% of the reason. The other 80 was I was like, he's going to die there.
See, that's bullshit. That pisses me off because part of me wants to be so more in love with you that you would even want to go there and support me and do that. But if you're saying 80% of the reason why you want to go is because you don't think I can get there and back on my own, you're afraid for me, that's bullshit.
It's not.
Okay. Anyway.
You have become so, and it's kind of your fault, but it's not your fault. You just become, over the past 20 something years, you've become so dependent on Mom and I don't think you realize it until we travel. And then it's like, we do a lot of the stuff for you, which is fine.
Do you think that that's because I can't do it myself, or does it take more than...
There's a lot of stuff that's changed from when you were single, traveling places on your own. And I don't think... Also, I've been there. I've been to that airport. I know the hotel you'd be staying at. I know how far everything is from everything else. Like, it would just be easier. And you guys were looking like couldn't figure out. I sent mom the exact flight. I sent her the exact hotel. This is the flight you get them on. This is the, and you guys still spent how many hours looking at the wrong flights into the wrong airport on the wrong day.
So,
and like, it's going to be $500. We can't do this. I walk in and it's 2 minutes and
the point of this talk is this brings up a colossal issue, and it's something that we've kind of skirted around. But if we join Backstage or Voices or Vocal or whatever, and even if it's voice acting at first, Backstage still approaches me, and I got a lot of correspondence wanting me to do small things in LA, because the way my Backstage profile reads, they think I'm in LA, and there's no other way I can fill it out. Backstage, I can't type in the town that I'm in. I have to kind of pick the. Anyway, it's misleading, and I can't change it. I can't change it. So I predominantly, and every time somebody reaches out to me and wants me to do something, I have to say, thank you very much, but I have to decline. I'm actually looking for predominantly voice acting work. I'm in Idaho, and I just have to explain that. And so there's some missed opportunities. There certainly were a few that I would have been serious about if I were in LA and they contacted me through Backstage. I think they would have turned into work. So, but it brings up the bigger issue of every time something comes along like this out of the blue, there's these big, huge choices to make. Am I gonna make any money on it? How much? How much versus how much is it going to cost me to get there? Is it worth all of this to go get the experience and the credit? It brought up in spades that issue in just a few hours, and we were scrambling around trying to figure out who was going to go, when we were going to leave, how we were going to go. Was it cheaper to drive and quicker and easier? Should we fly? All of this stuff to try to figure out. You guys finally hit enter on getting your airline tickets, and about a minute and a half later, seriously, my phone goes off, and it's Rory Lewis canceling the whole thing. And he and I had been back and forth all day long about my suit sizes, and he sent me some pictures of some suit coats he was thinking of and wanted my thoughts on, and then at the 11th hour, and this was about 10:30, 11 o'clock my time last night, I get this email from him through Backstage that says I've got to cancel this, and it was because it was too late. It was too last minute for a couple of the others. What this turned out to be was he was going to hire 2 other actors, and then he was going to do this photo shoot in his
studio.
Not in his studio, but in his style.
Oh.
And his style is very, like, his subjects don't smile a lot. His male subjects don't smile. They're very serious, brooding, stoic, kind of darker, some black and white kind of photographs. And he was gonna have 3 of us, and he was gonna direct us through and do different clothing changes and have this collaboration and a shoot with multiple subjects. And I was just absolutely ready to go and all over that. That even made me more interesting than going and getting just my headshot done. But he said because it was last minute, and frankly, I'm not sure everyone realized that it was the week of Thanksgiving. This all crept up on us so fast. But the other 2 actors couldn't. It was too late a notice for them. He said he would get back to me early on next year. So all of that scrambling around, all of those hours spent, how are we trying to figure this out, and just beating our heads against the wall, trying to figure out what would be the best and most prudent, or should we do it at all? And all of this just to have it pulled out from underneath us at the 11th hour in the middle of the night. So it really brings up this issue that we're completely unprepared for anything that might come down, the pike. I'm ringing all these bells, and if one door opens, it's going to be another one of these. Can I get there? Can I afford it? Does it pay? And it's just this, it was tough. That was kind of a emergency situation, and I fear they're all going to be like that. Everything that comes along, it's going to be, unless it's something voice acting that we can do here in the studio and produce ourselves and put out that way. Unless it and see, this one, it wasn't like an acting job. It wasn't something I was getting paid to do. This was certainly an investment in my future, and I would have looked at the trip like that. But certainly down the line, one thing that might help make that decision is how much money are you making on the gig, and if you're going to put a good bit of coin in your pocket, then getting there and back is a hell of a lot less of an emergency than us trying to figure out how we're going to get to LA and back on something that's only going to cost us money. It's just an investment in, in the future. Better pictures, and I could post pictures of whatever he took. And he said I can use the photos that he takes when we're done. I can use those for my own social media purposes. And so, boy, would that would bolster things up for me. Those would put me on the map. And so I was willing to look at that like an investment and pursue it that way. But like I'm saying, another thing that might make it more palatable down the road once this gets going is deciding on jobs that pay, because that'll take a little bit of the sting out of what we were experiencing last night. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, lots of activity this week. Just really, really things, lots of auditions and keeping busy, and it just feels right. It feels right. What did you get a chance to, have you read more of your book? How are you doing on the Meisner technique?
I have, but I don't want to talk about it until I'm finished.
Okay. All right. I can appreciate that. You want to wrap your...
I want the whole thing in my brain before
you commit to...
Before I commit to my full telling, my synopsis, my takeaway.
All right.
And how I feel like it's impacted me.
Well, and also, is it the format that suits you? That's why some people use other techniques that suit their personality and suit their, it just plays to their strong suits better. Maybe Meisner's not your thing, But anyway, cool. So, and this is Black Friday, so this comes up that we need to get you, we were going to wait to get you joined up on Backstage, but now I think we should take advantage of this Black Friday sale, because you can join Backstage for $75 instead of $200. So I think we should get you going, and maybe get you some voice acting auditions out there. Maybe get you a couple of voice reels that you can put on your profile, so something that you do, some crazy cartoon voices, or maybe just straight narration, or we'll find some stuff and get some copy, and you can read it, and we'll start building your profile on Backstage.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the stuff that we've recorded too, we should put on there.
You mean like this kind of stuff?
No, like the monologues I've done.
Oh, right. And some of the rehearsal reels we've done for you for your, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, clearly we're keeping you up, so... You're
not keeping me up.
I think this is going to, unless you have anything to add, this was just a flurry of information, and I got it out in real short order, and we can wind this down.
Yeah, I'm just working on that book, so...
All right, well...
I don't really have anything else to report.
Next week...
I have been watching... I don't like a lot of the acting classes by unknowns, should I say, on YouTube. Like a lot of the things where it's like, this is how you do this. I don't like that.
Yeah.
More of like listening to people that are in the industry that like I know about, like broad spectrum kind of talk about it, like Matthew McConaughey or Tom Hanks or Helena Bonham Carter.
Sorry, we ran out of flim flam. What were you saying? You were taking those online acting classes, and you prefer the ones with notable actors.
Yeah, and I've been watching more of that old guy that goes... Fuck, I can't remember his name. That goes... that you showed me. This is how you... And there was also a director. A lot of directors have a lot of insight, too. That's really helpful from like a different perspective, which I like a lot.
I do too. I've listened to several directors and writers on YouTube, and I come from their point of view. I totally get that. I think I could easily work in that collaborative, pot.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what I should have done.
Yeah.
I think I would have been, and I can't believe I'm saying this because my history with trying to figure out editing, but it is so cool. It's magic. Editing is magic. Editing is everything. It makes it or breaks it. I'm just saying. Anyway, we're going to wind this down. Happy Thanksgiving. Next weekend is Thanksgiving. So I don't know if we're going to get an episode done next week. We're going to be busy, partying and going to family stuff and being off work and eating. So I don't know. Maybe we might fit one in. What we should do is we should do a live broadcast from Merck's house. Aunt Merck. That's where we're going to have.
I don't think we should do that.
Oh, that would be fun. We could do some live interviews with Uncle Jess and Aunt Merck and get their views on all sorts of current public events and stuff that's in the news and stuff like that.
No, I think that's a bad idea.
Okay. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you later.
That's the end.
That's the end.
If you don't leave that in, I'm going to be pissed.